Episode number 37. For no particular reason, just to avoiding returning to his desk for a while, he opened the window. It was difficult to open, and he had to turn the handle with both his hands. Then, through the whole height and breadth of the window, the mixture of fog and smoke was drawn into the room, filling it with a slight smell of burning. A few flakes of snow were blown in with it. "It's a horrible autumn," said the manufacturer, who had come into the room unnoticed after seeing the deputy director, and now stood behind K. K nodded, and looked uneasily at the manufacturer's briefcase, from which he would now probably take the papers, and inform K of the result of his negotiations with the deputy director. However, the manufacturer saw where K was looking, knocked on his briefcase, and without opening it said, "You'll be wanting to hear how things turned out. I've already got the contract in my pocket, almost. He's a charming man, your deputy director. He's got his dangers, though." He laughed as he shook K.'s hand, and wanted to make him laugh with him. But to K, it once more seemed suspicious that the manufacturer did not want to show him the papers, and saw nothing about his comments to laugh at. "Chief Clerk," said the manufacturer, "I expect the weather's been affecting your mood, has it? You're looking so worried today." "Yes," said K, raising his hand, and holding the temple of his head. "Headaches, worries in the family." "Quite right," said the manufacturer, who was always in a hurry, and could never listen to anyone for very long. "Everyone has his cross to bear." K had unconsciously made a step towards the door as if wanting to show the manufacturer out, but the manufacturer said, "Chief Clerk, there's something else I'd like to mention to you. I'm very sorry if it's something that'll be a burden to you today of all days, but I've been to see you twice already lately, and each time I forgot all about it. If I delay it any longer it might well lose its point altogether. That would be a pity, as I think what I've got to say does have some value." Before K had had the time to answer, the manufacturer came up close to him, tapped his knuckle lightly on his chest, and said quietly, "You've got a trial going on, haven't you?" K stepped back, and immediately exclaimed, "That's what the deputy director's been telling you." No, said the manufacturer. "How would the deputy director know about it?" "And what about you?" asked K, already more in control of himself. "I hear things about the court here and there," said the manufacturer. "And that even applies to what it is that I wanted to tell you about. There are so many people who have connections with the court," said K with lowered head, and he led the manufacturer over to his desk. They sat down where they had been before, and the manufacturer said, "I'm afraid it's not very much that I've got to tell you about. Only, in matters like this, it's best not to overlook the tiniest details. Besides, I really want to help you in some way, however modest my help might be. We've been good business partners up till now, haven't we? Well then." K wanted to apologize for his behavior in the conversation earlier that day, but the manufacturer would tolerate no interruption, shoved his briefcase up high in his armpit to show that he was in a hurry, and carried on. "I know about your case through a certain Titwood. He's a painter. Titwood's just his artistic name. I don't even know what his real name is. He's been coming to me in my office for years from time to time, and brings little pictures with him, which I buy more or less just for the sake of charity, as he's hardly more than a beggar. And they're nice pictures, too, moorland landscapes, and that sort of thing. We'd both got used to doing business in this way, and it always went smoothly. Only, one time these visits became a bit too frequent. I began to tell him off for it. We started talking, and I became interested how it was that he could earn a living just by painting, and then I learned to my amazement that his main source of income was painting portraits. "I work for the court," he said. "What court?" said I. And that's when he told me about the court. I'm sure you can imagine how amazed I was at being told all this. Ever since then I learn something new about the court every time he comes to visit, and so little by little I get to understand something of how it works. Anyway, Titwood talks a lot, and I often have to push him away, not only because he's bound to lying, but also, most of all, because a businessman like me who's already close to breaking point under the weight of his own business worries can't pay too much attention to other people's. But all that's just by the by. Perhaps this is what I've been thinking, perhaps Tito might be able to help you in some small way. He knows lots of judges, and even if he can't have much influence himself, he can give you some advice about how to get some influential people on your side. And even if this advice doesn't turn out to make all the difference, I still think it'll be very important once you've got it. You're nearly a lawyer yourself. That's what I always say. Mr. K, the chief clerk, is nearly a lawyer. Oh, I'm sure this trial of yours will turn out alright. So do you want to go and see Tito? Then, if I ask him to, he'll certainly do everything he possibly can. I really do think you ought to go. It needn't be today, of course, just sometime, when you get the chance. And anyway, I want to tell you this too, you don't actually have to go and see Tito. This advice from me doesn't place you under an obligation at all. No, if you think you can get by without Tito, it'll certainly be better to leave him completely out of it. Maybe you've already got a clear idea of what you're doing, and Tito could upset your plans. No, if that's the case, then of course you shouldn't go there under any circumstances. And it certainly won't be to take advice from a lad like that. Still, it's up to you. Here's the letter of recommendation and here's the address.